Joining us now, City Councillors Jay Robinson and Paula Fletcher. They are live outside Toronto City Hall. Full transparency here. To me, it seems like Rob Ford's the only one who's speaking frankly. As women, I invited you on to get your thoughts on what he said this morning.
Well, today I think it was the most vile and vulgar comments by any mayor anywhere across this country that have ever been made about women.
Councillor Robinson, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's simply unbelievable. We're aghast as a city council and across the city. We've lost our whole sense of dignity, decorum, and respect. And it's simply unacceptable.
Have either of you been able to convey that to the mayor today?
Well, Councillor Davis stood up and made a very significant speech and asked everyone who had been affronted by these remarks to please stand, and every single councillor stood up in the chamber. You need to understand that every day there is something different, that we lurch from crisis to crisis with this mayor. Previously he's talked about things he's done in the past, but what happened today was in the present.
And what are your thoughts on his apology then, just less than 3 hours later?
It's absolutely unauthentic, it's empty, and it's just more of the same from the Fords. People have grown very weary of this, and it's time to take action.
What would you say to anyone who supports Rob Ford at this point?
You know, people, I think, still support Rob Ford. They've given him the benefit of the doubt, but I would question anybody being able to fully support this mayor after what he said today.
Councillor Robinson, what would you say to, people who have been referred to as Ford Nation?
I think it's the end of the line today. I mean, I can't think that we could possibly sink any lower than this. But it continues, as Councillor Fletcher indicates, we have crisis after crisis. I mean, yesterday, the information that was being exposed was remarkable, unsettling, and like I said, it's affecting our global reputation. It's affecting our business image as a city, and the mayor simply has to step aside now.
I also want to ask you what you make of his wife standing next to him today. I mean, for Canadians across the country, we don't see her that often.
I've not really ever seen her outside of election night, so I guess the family probably thinks they are in a real crisis. It's very brave of her to come here today and stand behind her husband. But I agree with Councillor Robinson that the apology is an empty apology. They are trying to redress the window, but we have now seen behind the curtain.
And so tomorrow there will be that motion to strip Rob Ford of some of his powers as mayor. If that passes, as it's assumed to be, will we see a more vocal council? Will there be more people on his executive committee, at least, who can say what they really feel?
Absolutely. Tomorrow is a critical day in the history of the city because we're going to be taking some steps to ensure that the mayor cannot continue to do the things he's been doing over the past 6 months. I was actually kicked off as executive after 3 years of hard work and really trying to help him with his fiscal agenda. And I was kicked off because I said, you need to take a leave of absence. I stand by that statement 6 months later. The whole issue is just intensified, escalated, and now Toronto is in the shadow of this entire controversy.
Now, Councillor Fillion, when we were speaking to him about the motion earlier, hinted that there could be more action taken by council. Is there anything else that you as councillors are discussing?
I do think that we're looking at every possible option. The Premier has said today that if we want, we can call on the Ontario government, all three parties, to give us more powers. I think probably we should try to make sure that we can operate within our own structures rather than actually have another level of government step in. So I think we're looking at all options, including the mayor still needs to be looking at the option that he steps aside and basically goes to rehab.
It sounds like that's something that he can refuse, though, right? I mean, we've seen this happen. What other action could you take?
Well, yesterday we put forward a number of motions, as well as we presented a letter to the mayor. 30 councillors signed it, which I think is quite significant, asking the mayor to step aside. Unfortunately, he is defiant. And he will not listen. So tomorrow we're going to look at, as Councillor Fletcher indicated, every possible option, and there will be motions coming forward. There's 2 special meetings being held, and there is now talk of a 3rd special meeting taking place next week to look at every possible option that we have before us to address this very serious issue.
All right, and councillors, go ahead, Councillor Fletcher.
We are taking unprecedented steps in unprecedented times, and one of the motions we'll deal with tomorrow is what will we do in a major crisis here in the city of Toronto, like the flood in Calgary. We are going to look at making sure that the deputy mayor would be in charge in case of any crises like that.
Okay, I understand. I wanted to also ask both of you councillors what you'd like to say to Canadians across the country. We are a national network, and this morning they heard what Rob Ford had to say. So what would you say to our viewers?
Well, I would have to say that this is a grim time for the City of Toronto, but the residents have rallied around us. There is a lot of leadership on council. We are stable. We are open for business. Our libraries are open. Our fire trucks, if necessary, are running. We are stable, and we don't want anyone thinking anything else. It's an amazing city to come visit, to live, to work, to play, and that's the message we want to convey. We have one problem. It's a big problem, and we're doing our best to address it.
Ditto with that. As the Premier said, this is not Toronto. What people are seeing today, this is not Toronto. We are working to create and maintain a healthy city, a great business climate. We won't be blown off course by this mayor, and we are taking steps to deal with them. And we've got a lot of tremendous councillors, and we are working together in a way that only municipal government can. And I want to assure everybody in Toronto and everywhere else, we are taking this very seriously, doing our very best.
Councillors Jay Robinson and Councillor Paul Fletcher, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.